Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our worship service this morning. A very special welcome to any of you who are new to the church. I see a lot of new faces here in the second pews. And these are the family and friends of the wonderful little child, Olivia Ann Ray, whom we're going to baptize later on in the service. So welcome to Harrow. And I hope that you'll experience in this place what we experience every Sunday. Sunday to Sunday is the great camaraderie of people worshiping together a most glorious God. This is an amazing congregation, and I'm blessed to be standing here in front of you and be part of it. A wise woman once said that you'll find the most meaning and the highest purpose in your life at a point in which your greatest passion intersects God's will for the world. Where your greatest passion intersects God's will for the world. And I believe that I'm about to experience that point. I'm about to discover it as I embark on the next leg of my spiritual journey. As most of you know by now, I'm sure, I will be leaving Harrow United Church on January 15th of next year to assume a ministry position at Riverside United in the city. And I thought I would take a moment before we begin our worship service this morning just to try to explain some of the rationale behind that decision. So if you bear with me. First off, it's a decision that I didn't come to easily at all. In fact, it was a decision that I came to after many, many months of discernment and deliberation. But it's a response. It's a personal response to what I believe now was God's call for the next step for me. You see, a huge passion of mine is interreligious or interfaith dialogue and work. That's always been big in my life. And it's a type of work that stirs within me a love of God on the one hand, manifest in a love of neighbor on the other hand. And if you were here last week, it was something I described as being so intertwined that the two are scarcely distinguishable from one another. They work so closely together. And I realize now that I need to be in the city to do this type of work, to do it effectively. I need to be in a city where there's a high enough concentration of other faith groups to make the work possible in the first place. And Windsor is just such a city. It has a significant representation of most faith groups. In fact, it has the highest concentration of Muslims per capita of any city in Canada. And I mention Muslims only because they're currently suffering a significant backlash because of all that is happening in this war against terror world of ours. Muslims, together with Jews and Sikhs and Hindus and countless others, have long been forced to bear the brunt from a certain segment of our society that is bent on hate. A hate that can pour out with the slightest and mostly unjustified provocation. A hate that is largely based in fear, a fear of losing yet one more thing to people who are, quote unquote, different than us. People who are immigrants. People who can't talk English yet. Who wear funny clothes and eat funny foods. Who take away our jobs, who chew away our taxes, and might even consider marrying our daughters, who have the possibility, how dare they, of occupying our very rung on the social ladder. All this to say that as a Christian clergyman in the city and another leader of the Outreach and Justice Committee at Riverside United, I intend to befriend Muslim imams, Jewish rabbis, Sikh and Hindu priests, and any others who would break bread with me. I plan to befriend them and work closely with them in the hope of turning as far as possible this tide of hateful rhetoric and deplorable acts of violence and property destruction against those who, as far as I'm concerned, hardly deserve it. All this to say that Susan and I will miss every single one of you here. I wish there was a way that I could get you all into the trunk of my car. I wish there was a way that I could bring you all with me. And you have to know that my reason for leaving has nothing at all to do with Harrow United Church. It has nothing to do with what's going on here at Harrow United Church. There's nothing that is going on here that is driving me there. This is a wonderful congregation. This is a healthy congregation. This is a congregation that's filled with so much joy, so much laughter, so much happiness, it's almost intoxicating. It's infectious. And this is a congregation that the next minister will be so blessed to serve as I have been. You have to believe this. You have to know this, and you have to believe this. I think Eleanor has a few words to say.
And some of you have said to me, what do we do now? Well, first of all, I want to say to you, we will be all right. We are a strong church community, and we get our support and our faith from each other. I have already seen you reaching out to talk to each other about it. I've seen you hug each other and tell each other that we will be just fine. This morning, I really want, like Frank said, we will be all right. We are a strong community. If we stick together, we can overcome any obstacles. Now, the executive of the official board has met twice in the past week, and we've put together an action plan to prepare the forms which have to be done before we can declare a vacancy. We will be asking for your input at our congregational meeting on Sunday, November the 12th. And at this meeting, we will nominate an interview team. The next presbytery meeting, and that kind of is the aim to have things done, is November the 21st. And we want to have things done before that date to submit so presbytery can approve the forms, declare a vacancy, and send them on to London Conference so they can be posted on the website so ministers can apply. You may be asking, well, why are you rushing along here? And one of the reasons is because December is an off month for Presbytery and London Conference, so in order to get some forms into them and get them approved, we have to move quickly with that. I would like to introduce you to our executive of the board so that you know who they are. And I'd like them to stand. Barry Mannell, John Woodbridge, Jillian Lamour, Barb Brookbanks, Laura Jarrill, Glenn Gorick, who is absent this morning, Kathy George, and Gail Stifler. I want you, if you need to, seek out any of those members of the executive. If you want to talk to them, if you want to ask questions, or if you have any suggestions, we're open and we want to hear you. We will listen. Thank you. There will be a short survey next week that we're going to ask you to fill out because we want you to be a part of this process. As I said earlier, we will get through this as long as we support each other, keep the faith, and stick together. And Reverend Frank, I want you to know that you go with our blessing.